Seele, a character synonymous with being the S tier unit of the game. Or was it S plus tier? Or was it SS tier? Remember when Yang Qing was actually decent? Whatever the tier was, she was always the best. But now the only people I see using Seele are those who are just stuck in memories of the past. Or maybe they've lost their Jingliu and Imbibitor Lunae amongst the sea of butterflies. But with Seele getting a rerun, it brings the question, is she worth pulling for? And that is what we're going to discuss in today's video. So let's get into it. I've been seeing some funny stuff around talking about how Seele is mid now with the introduction of Topaz. Jing Yuan's going to overlap her and stuff like that. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. But in general, first of all, we're just looking at the tier list here just so we can look at all the characters and reference them without having to bounce between them on screens and stuff like that. So that's why we're looking at the tier list. And also shout out to Pride Win. I had a bit of a joke at their tiers from early days, but they do a fantastic job. But like I said, with Seele, should you be pulling for her rerun banner? This is completely a personal decision. We will talk about meta / competitiveness in a sec, but at the end of the day, if you like Seele, or you started late and you really liked her, or you just didn't pull for her because you wanted to skip, whatever it was at the start, and you're like, I would love to play with Seele. She's a cool character. Like, the Resurgence procs, they are really fun. They're really cool. Me personally, I'm not, like, I've got a Seele. She's still at level 70. I've never used her. I've never built her. I use QQ personally as my quantum damage dealer. So me personally, I wouldn't be pulling for her. I'm not going to pull for her on my new accounts or my alt accounts. That's just because I personally, I prefer QQ for quantum damage dealer. That's just me. I find it more fun. But if you love Seele, you want to pull for her, go ahead. At the end of the day, it is a casual game, and you can clear the game with anything. Let's face it. You can 30-star MOC once you get your gear up, your characters leveled and stuff like that, with literally any character you want. You can zero cycle with a ton of the characters. You can zero cycle with Seele. You can zero cycle with Dan. You know, the game is very accessible to anyone, and it allows you to play the characters that you want. So if you want to pull a Seele, 100% go for it. Don't let anyone tell you it's the wrong decision, because at the end of the day, your enjoyment is the most important thing. But in terms of her viability and stuff like that, when we look at the other characters, now obviously the big two are Imbibitor Lunae, as they say, and Jingliu. Now, these two have absolutely crushed it. And I also think there's almost a bit of imbalance in the paths, where if we look at the tier list and we look at some of the best, and I've mentioned this before, it feels like any hunt or erudition character to rank highly has to function like a destruction character to actually have any sort of viability. When we look at that, you can see we've got Kafka. She's a nihility, but she's a little bit different because she's like normally they're considered debuffers, but she is a DPS because of the way she pops and stuff like that. But she has the more single target focused damage with that skill, popping the dots on the single target and then doing a bit of splash damage. It's the whole role of destruction characters where they can nuke single targets, but then also do good AoE as well, and they just basically fill the role of erudition and hunt. And with the way the recent characters have been coming, their damage has just been scaling up, that their single target damage is more than hunt characters now anyway. When we looked at erudition, we look at something like QQ. Once again, she's one of those ones that has heavier single target damage than raw AoE damage. Even if we look to Jing Yuan, he has heavier single target damage, especially when you're down to one target, and his big lightning lord can just nuke the one target. He's going to be doing bigger damage like that. So I feel like in general, the destruction path is just coming to light in the game as being the dominant path. But in general, when we talk about Seele, she does have that effect where she can snipe units and keep taking turns, and then she basically functions like an AoE wiping unit, and then she can nuke the single target. So I think in general, she is still a fantastic unit. She can do that. You know, you've got to have her well built so that you are killing the enemies, the little ads, so that away you go and you can keep punching on. Now, the problem once again comes with her compared to Imbibitor Lunae and also Jingliu, in that their single target damage is better, but they're also dealing splash damage at the same time. Whereas back in the day, Seele had this strength where, you know, if you fight two enemy bosses in Memory of Chaos, where you got the two bosses in the in the boss stage. Dude, what am I even saying there? Where, you know, she had the advantage of you could focus down on that one unit and destroy one unit so that you didn't have that one to worry about and then move on to the next one. Whereas back in the day, the other characters didn't really have that capability. The only one was Yang Qing because he was that high single target damage. But now that the destruction damage is creeping up, them able to do that stuff, but just at a better rate than Seele, is, in my opinion, once again. So that is the pickle that we have with Seele. Once again, I think she is still a perfectly viable unit, but I definitely think she has had her fall from grace when we especially compare her to Imbibitor Lunae and also Jing Liu. But when we look at stuff like Blade, when we look at stuff like Kafka, I feel like she's fairly evenly paired to them still. I think Kafka is going to far excel her once we get a 5-star Nihility dot damage dealing character, because that will just buff Kafka because she'll be able to pop those dots. Because at the moment, when we look at Kafka, she's still sitting really well in the game because she can solo hyper carry type thing. Or you've got, like, you know, Sampo, Luca, Serval, Himiko as options to put dots on, but none of them are really great units that enable Kafka to really shine. So I think she will definitely creep up. Blade's a little bit different. I really love Blade. He's just great on auto. He's a reliable type unit. He sort of has different positives to Seele, but once again, both of them can zero cycle, so who cares? But then it comes down to E6QQ versus Seele as well. And if you're looking for quantum damage and you're looking to, like, oh, you know, Seele's coming, I need a quantum damage dealer, maybe I should get Seele. If that's the thing that you want, a quantum damage dealer that you're looking at, I highly suggest pulling for getting QQ dupes on one of the banners that she's on. She's currently on Jing Liu, and if you don't have Jing Liu, that's a great character to pull for. Once again, only pull for characters you like, I get it, but you know, QQ can deal massive damage. She can zero cycle. She's a fantastic unit, and she can cover that quantum damage spot that you're looking for. I personally think on rerun characters, I think Silverwolf is still the one to look to if you didn't get Silverwolf as a potential character. When we look past that, when we talk about more rerun characters, if we look to something like Locha, we'll have to wait and see how things like Ho-Ho or Huo or Ho-Ho or dude Ho-Ho, whatever her name is, the healer chick. We'll have to see how she goes, see how much they start power creeping sustain units, because obviously Locha came out, he was busted. Then Fu Xuan came out and she was busted in a different way, but now she is bringing buffs. And then we'll have to see if they start making sustain characters better and better and better, because then you might not want to be going for those as well. But in general, TLDR of it, I've just had a bit of a ramble. I do apologize, but I just like discussing these things. For me personally, I don't think Seele is worth pulling for meta, because I would rather wait for new units and see what new units have to offer. The next damage dealing unit that I think will compete with the top tiers will be Argenti. I don't know whether he will, but he's the next one with the potential to. I think Topaz is going to act more as an amplifier for follow-up attacks. So that's the way I'm thinking she will fall in. I don't think she's going to be like a hyper carry main DPS to compare to these units. I think she's going to be more of a damage deal. She's more of a sub DPS / amplifier. She's got her own sort of role that sort of differs from a lot of characters in the game. She kind of reminds me of Sampo in a way, because he's like an amplifier for Kafka, but he can also deal some damage, and that's the kind of slot that I think she's going to fall into. But basically from here, I think Jing Liu and Danny Boy will hold the top of the meta until we see what Argenti can do, if he's going to be good. Once again, he is an erudition character, so I'm curious if they make him more of a destruction style gameplay where he has more single target focus damage and then has splash damage for that erudition side. We'll have to wait and see how he functions. But in general, Seele, I personally wouldn't be pulling for her unless I really like the design, because like I said, if you want a quantum damage dealer, QQ can perfectly fill that role, and then we just have better raw damaging options at the moment, and she sort of has slipped off from her pedestal at the top of the tier list. But in general, she is still a fantastic unit. You can do everything in the game with her. You can zero cycle, so it literally becomes, what do you have fun doing? If you've always looked at Seele and gone, she looks like a sick fun unit and I really want to play with her, then go ahead and pull her. It's not going to ruin your account. Nothing can really ruin your account because the game's casual and it's pretty easy. So that pretty much sums it up. Anyway, guys, that is going to be it for this one. Let me know your thoughts around the Seele rerun. Probably tomorrow we'll have a Topaz video talking about Topaz, my thoughts around her and stuff like that. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. As always, thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.